Joshua McDowell is a criminal defense attorney. He used to be a prosecutor in the legal system of the United States. He has been witnessing all the investigation and being part of it when we went very recently to Peru, to Lima. He has been able to write some reports on the story of his findings, which I think they are very revealing and very, very important. Hello, Josh.
Hi, Jaime. Thank you for the kind words.
Please let us know, what are your thoughts around this very mysterious case?
Well, it's that, exactly. And my role was really as investigative. What I wanted to do was become a little bit of a historian, find out as much as I could about the mummies, read everything I could, researched the Nazca culture, but also worked with the doctors as well. When we first talked about coming down to look at the mummies, to look at the specimens, it was important that we put together a really good team. And so, we looked for a pathologist and an anthropologist in addition to my father. We really wanted to cover the bases to try to see what we could figure out in this forensic mystery.
What are your findings? What did you see there?
Well, I will tell you, they are unlike anything I've ever seen. They're truly sui generis. They come in various shapes and sizes. We've seen bodies that look very human, other than they have elongated craniums, 3 fingers and 3 toes, so tridactyly. And there's also other specimens, let's call them, or bodies that are about 2 feet tall and look like nothing else that I've seen on Earth or have seen in the fossil record. And there's also even smaller bodies as well. And what we've seen as well is there's likely more to come, other types as well.
You were there and you've been writing about this. Let us know, what are your thoughts about this story after you saw the creatures and you were there when the scientists analyzed this?
It's the best way to describe it is a mystery, because my expertise is, I'm not a doctor, I'm an attorney by trade, but in this case I'm a little bit of an investigator. I've been wanting to talk to anybody and everybody, the doctors that have been studying it for 7 years, doctors like Dr. Zalce, Dr. Ruiz, that I respect, that I like, that I trust their opinion. And I've learned a lot from them, and they have strong opinions. And it's interesting to actually physically see the specimens and look at them with my own eyes to try to make up my own mind. And of course, we get ideas for ourselves as we look at them, but that's why we have investigations. That's why we research. That's why the doctors are coming down to investigate and follow the scientific method to figure out what these truly are.
So far, are you fascinated?
Oh yes, absolutely. They don't make a lot of sense to me as I look at them. As I physically look at the specimens, a specimen like Alberto, one of these 2 foot tall specimens, it doesn't make sense to me how it could walk, it could move, it could ambulate. It doesn't make sense with my limited understanding of biology, how it would work. The 3 fingers and 3 toes on the larger Maria Montserrat, they're fascinating. Under fluoroscopy, under CT, they have a very unique look and like nothing I've seen before.
There is a legal side in all of this. What have you found there?
Well, there's an incredibly important legal side, and I think it involves several different things. I think it involves the government of Peru, the Ministry of Culture, and where the bodies could potentially be studied. I know Peru believes that the bodies are part of the cultural patrimony of Peru, and I understand that perspective. But I think there's also an opportunity to have a collaborative process to study the bodies and to find out what they are. Are these a new species? Are they an elaborate hoax? What are they? And I think that's part of what the process is. And I would like to see the Ministry of Culture in Peru get on board, so to speak, and say, let's work collaboratively, let's work cooperatively to get to the bottom of it, to figure out what the mystery is. So part of it, Jaime, is if we are to test them or move them somewhere else for further testing, to get better imaging, which hasn't been available in Lima as I understand it, to do proper forensic testing, collection of DNA, carbon-14, things of that nature. It would be a lot easier in a controlled facility that has the personnel, expertise, instruments to complete it. And with the United States, there's laws, federal code, that says unless the government of origin has given consent and agreed that things that are pre-Columbian, pre-Hispanic, or even 250 years old is what the statute says, that they can't be moved. They can't be introduced into the United States without consent of the country of origin. And then it would have to go through the customs process in the United States as well.
Should it happen?
Well, I'm in favor of it. I look at it and I say, there's a plan A. And a plan A would be to have them in a facility that, as I said before, has the resources and expertise to go through the scientific process, the forensic process, to study them. A plan B would be to study them where they are, is to do proper collections, try to find the best equipment and instruments available. I think scanning, certainly the CT scans could be better than what's available. But there's an ideal situation and there's a less than an ideal situation. But I think in either way, we can get a lot of answers. It's time and money.
How could happen?
Well, I think one of the things would be for Peru, the Ministry of Culture, to say, we agree and we're happy to help and sign whatever's necessary for U.S. Customs to be willing to accept the bodies. And it could be for a period of time, say 6 months, a year, that they would go to one location, a university or laboratory facility that could accept the bodies, and they could be studied there. And they could maintain control over them in a laboratory environment. So I think that would be ideal in my understanding. But as I said before, there's other ways that we can still try to continue to test them. But it still takes the cooperation of, not just the doctors, but of government officials.
That is why the government of Peru should accept this? Well,
in my opinion, yes. I think it would be great for Peru to understand what these are. The doctors that we came to Peru with, their goal is to get to the bottom of it, get to the truth, whatever that may be. And that truth may be different for body A and body B and body C, or specimen A, B, or C. We don't know yet. That's what the scientific method and process is about. So would it be helpful to Peru? Yes, I think it would be. As my father said, I think there's cultural and historical interest in these bodies. And especially the more we know, the more we understand about them and the more interest there might be.
If they are real, if they are truthful, and the story behind them is bigger than we thought, it would mean that probably they would become a touristic attraction.
Well, I certainly believe so. In one of my blogs, I even talked about that, where the Nazca Lines are one of the top tourist attractions, but they don't see nearly the amount of tourism that, say, Machu Picchu does. If there was something available that tourists could come and see the lines, they could come and see these bodies, these mummies, like we have. They're fascinating. They're incredible to look at. They're different. And it would generate a lot of interest, especially if we knew more about what they were. Because there's so much chatter about what they are, what they're not. The more we know about them, the more we can establish what they are, their provenance, and the reality of what these bodies are.
What do you think? You are not a scientist, you are going to tell me that, but what do you think?
You know, I have my own hypotheses as I sit there and I look at the bodies, and my hypotheses are different for the different bodies, I'll be honest with you. And I think it's honestly premature to say right now. I've certainly bounced a few ideas off my father and off the other doctors, but I also would like to see the scientific method be carried out. I would like to see the doctors do their work, because that's part of what the method is. Yes, we formulate a question, but then we research, and then we can make a hypothesis. And so our research has been so limited. We've had hours. Now, certainly I've read everything I can find, but we had a period of about 7 hours physically with the bodies, with tomography and fluoroscopy, and that gave me some really good ideas about what may be going on and what they are.
But we need more time.
We need more time.
More investigation.
We need more time. I think we can't jump steps in the scientific method. If we are formulating a question, which is where I'm at right now, we're still trying to, in the very beginning phases of it, if we're already jumping to a hypothesis before a lot of the research has been done, I think we're getting ahead of the game. Now, a lot of research has been done by a lot of, as we've talked about, scientists that are phenomenal. The doctors that I've met in Peru, the Mexican doctors as well that have worked on it, doctors that I trust and respect and know of their histories, have done some great work. But I think there's another perspective that could be had on this. And it was a really great opportunity to sit in that room and have the doctors from the United States talk to the Peruvians and the Mexican doctors, to have that conversation, that collaborative work. And
really fascinating that.
Well, yeah, I was a fly on the wall, Jaime, listening to what the doctors had to say and what their theories were. And as you know, I've been talking to all of them. We like to text or call, and I like to hear from the doctors. I'm friendly with Zalce and Ruiz. I like those guys, I trust those guys, but I also want to hear from them and what their perspectives are, because that's important to me, because I know they've been studying these for years. So a lot of what I've felt is we've come into this maybe 7 years later. Yes, there's a new perspective and a new fresh set of eyes to take a look at that, but to work in a collaborative process with the people that have been working on it for years.
As a lawyer, did you see anything that was not correct, not right?
Well, from a lawyer's perspective, I'm a former prosecutor, and I've also grown up in the house of a forensic scientist, and so I'm not a rookie at looking at bodies. This isn't the first time that I've had these experiences. Visually, I will tell you that I look at those feet and those hands for quite a long time. Did I take some pictures? Have I looked at the pictures? Of course. And truthfully, it's hard to tell because there's ancient skin. There's lots of diatomaceous earth covering it. And so could I see obvious cuts or manipulations on the exterior of the bodies? No, I couldn't. But, I don't think that tells the full story. I think we need to go a lot deeper than that. I mean, that's literally and figuratively surface level. We need to dig down a little deeper before we get to the real answers.
Did you feel free to do the investigation?
Oh, absolutely. Everyone was so helpful. I really feel that they rolled out the red carpet for us, that the Peruvian team at the university, all the doctors, Zuniga, and the chancellor who came and spoke with us, everyone gave us complete freedom and gave us as much time as we wanted. And everybody was so helpful and happy to see us. The amount of hugs and warm welcomes was great to have. It really felt good.
How is to be the son of John McDowell?
Well, he's just dad at our house. So, but as I said before, I've been along for the ride for 40 years. At 6 years old, I started going on cases, and I still remember the first case we did. It was a dog bite in Missouri, And the question was, what dog, it was one of two dogs, bit a young man and mauled him. It was a boy about 8 or 9 years old, just a little older than myself, who had been mauled by these dogs. And there were some great bite marks, and we got to take dental impressions of these dogs. And it was a fascinating case for me at 6 or 7 years old, but I've been along for the ride on a lot of those. I've held in my hand the skull of Jesse James as it was on my dining room table. I've witnessed him go out to 9/11, to the World Trade Center to help identify bodies. And so when there's an important case and they need somebody who can help identify and can get the job done, my dad gets called. And so, and I've always found that interesting as well. I love to hear the stories, and in the limited amount of times that I've had to be a part of it, that's always been exciting for me as well.
Are you looking forward to this case?
Absolutely. This has been a lot of fun to go to Peru, to be here in Mexico. The friendships I've made, the people I've met, the things I've seen, the people I've interviewed, the things I've learned it's been fascinating. And there's so much more to be done here. But, as my father and I talk about this, it's something that we've enjoyed tremendously. Just, having father-son time together, to go on trips. As you know, my son came along too, Max, and to have, 3 generations and him to have his grandson, and who was filming for us and did a phenomenal job. It was a lot of fun. And for him, also for Max, to see through Max's eyes as a child, maybe some of the same things I saw when I was his age, to have the experiences to go along on these forensic examinations and studies.
Your father has accepted to lead this investigation.
That's what I heard. I was here for the interview, and I think that's fascinating. And I think, he's retired from the university now, so maybe he's got a little bit of free time. But
we are so pleased.
I think that's going to be incredible that he has that opportunity. And for him, I think also for him to pull the experts from the arenas where he's not an expert, the doctors that, the anthropologists, the archaeologists, the pathologists. And that was our goal, truthfully, Jaime, was with the team we brought, is we wanted to find the best in the world. And Dr. Caruso and Dr. Rodriguez are incredible doctors. And hearing the stories that they would tell as we were on this trip are just, they've had quite lengthy and interesting careers in the forensic fields.
This is just the beginning.
It's just the beginning. And I can't wait to see where we go next.
Thank you very much, Josh.
Thank you, Jaime. It's a pleasure.
My pleasure.